Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Hey English. This is the podcast where we explore the wonderful world of English through everyday topics. This is episode number 3, and I'm Philip.
And I'm Sara. Today, we're diving into one of our favorite subjects, food and cooking. Whether you're a foodie, a cooking enthusiast, or just someone who loves to eat, we've got something for you.
That's right, Sara. We'll be chatting about our favorite foods, cooking methods, and even some interesting cultural dishes. But that's not all, we'll also be breaking down useful English vocabulary, grammar, idioms, phrases, and rules along the way.
Absolutely. We believe that learning a language should be fun and engaging. So, as we talk about delicious dishes and cooking techniques, we'll also help you expand your English skills. You'll learn new words, understand grammar better, and pick up some cool phrases you can use in everyday conversations.
And don't worry, we'll keep it light and entertaining. We want you to enjoy every minute of this podcast. So, grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get started on this tasty journey together.
Yes. Let's dive right in. We're excited to share our food stories and tips with you, and we hope you'll learn a lot along the way. Ready, Philip?
Ready, Sara? All right, everyone, let's talk about food and cooking. All right, let's kick things off by talking about our favorite foods and ingredients. Sara, what's a dish you can't live without?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to say pasta. There's just something so comforting about a big bowl of pasta with a rich, savory sauce. What about you, Philip?
Pasta is definitely a favorite of mine too. But if I had to choose, I'd go with a classic cheeseburger. There's nothing like a juicy burger with all the fixings. Speaking of which, let's dive into some vocabulary here. When we say ingredients, we mean the individual items you use to make a dish, like tomatoes, cheese, and beef for a burger.
Right. And when we talk about cuisine, we're referring to the style of cooking that's characteristic of a particular country or region. For example, Italian cuisine includes pasta dishes, while Mexican cuisine features ingredients like beans, corn, and chili peppers.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about adjectives we can use to describe food. Some of my favorites are delicious, savory, and spicy. For instance, you might say, "This pasta is absolutely delicious," or "I love how savory this burger is."
Great examples, Philip. Another important aspect of talking about food is using phrases and idioms. For example, comfort food refers to dishes that bring a sense of nostalgia or warmth, like a homemade mac and cheese. And food for thought is an idiom that means something that makes you think carefully.
Speaking of comfort food, I think it's time for a fun question. Sara, if you could only eat one ingredient for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I think I'd go with garlic. It adds such a wonderful flavor to so many dishes. What about you, Philip?
I'd have to say cheese. It's so versatile and makes everything taste better. Plus, there are so many different kinds to explore.
Absolutely. And there you have it, folks, our favorite foods and ingredients. We hope you learned some new vocabulary and picked up a few useful phrases. Remember, talking about food is not just about the flavors, but also about how we describe and share our experiences.
Well said, Sara. Now, let's move on to our next segment where we'll discuss different cooking methods and techniques. Sara, what's your go-to cooking method?
I absolutely love baking. There's something magical about putting a mixture in the oven and having it come out as a delicious cake or bread. How about you, Philip?
Baking is wonderful, but I'm a big fan of grilling. There's nothing like the flavor of food cooked on a grill, especially in the summer. Let's break down some vocabulary related to cooking methods. For example, sauté means to cook food quickly in a small amount of oil or butter over medium-high heat.
That's right. And simmer means to cook something gently just below the boiling point. You often use this technique for soups and stews to develop deep flavors. What about roasting, Philip?
Roasting involves cooking food, usually in an oven, with dry heat. It's perfect for meats and vegetables, giving them a nice, crispy exterior while keeping the inside tender. And then we have broiling, which is similar to grilling but uses the oven's top heating element to cook food quickly at high heat.
Great explanations, Philip. Now, let's talk about gerunds, which are verbs that act like nouns by adding ing to the end. For instance, baking is a gerund in the sentence, I enjoy baking.
Exactly. Another example is sautéing. You might say, sautéing vegetables is a quick way to prepare a healthy meal. Gerunds are handy because they allow us to talk about activities as concepts. Speaking of activities, what's your favorite cooking technique, Sarah?
I'd say marinating. Marinating involves soaking food in a flavorful liquid before cooking to enhance its taste. It's especially great for meats and tofu. Let's not forget about the importance of chopping and dicing. What's the difference, Philip?
Good question. Chopping refers to cutting food into large pieces, while dicing means cutting food into small, even cubes. Both are essential techniques in the kitchen. And don't forget blending, which means mixing ingredients together until smooth, often using a blender.
Absolutely. Now, let's sprinkle in some phrases and idioms. For instance, spice things up means to make something more exciting or interesting. You could say, let's spice things up by adding some chili powder.
And too many cooks spoil the broth is an idiom that means if too many people are involved in a task, it can lead to confusion and mistakes. It's a good one to remember when cooking with friends.
Definitely. Cooking is all about balance and knowing which techniques to use. It can be a fun and rewarding experience. So, whether you're baking, grilling, or sautéing, it's important to understand these methods and terms.
Well said, Sarah. And that wraps up our segment on cooking methods and techniques. We hope you found it informative and enjoyable. Next, we'll explore cultural differences in food. Sarah, have you tried any interesting dishes from different cultures recently?
Yes, I recently tried sushi, which is a staple of Japanese cuisine. It was amazing. The combination of rice, fresh fish, and seaweed is truly unique. How about you, Philip?
I love sushi too. Recently, I've been exploring Indian cuisine. The flavors are so vibrant and diverse. Dishes like curry and biryani are packed with spices and aroma. Let's talk about some vocabulary related to cultural food. For instance, cuisine refers to a style of cooking that is characteristic of a particular country or region.
Exactly. And traditional means something that is long established and follows cultural norms, like traditional Italian pasta dishes. Speaking of which, exotic is a word used to describe food that is unusual or foreign to us. Have you tried any exotic dishes, Philip?
Yes, I recently had a chance to try Ethiopian cuisine. The flavors and ingredients were so different from what I'm used to. It was a great experience. Let's also discuss fusion, which is when different culinary traditions are combined to create new, unique dishes. Have you ever had fusion food, Sarah?
I have. I once tried a Korean-Mexican fusion taco. It combined the bold flavors of Korean barbecue with the fresh ingredients and spices of Mexican cuisine. It was delicious. Now, let's touch on some grammar points. When we talk about different cuisines, we often use comparative adjectives. For example, spicier or more flavorful.
That's right. You might say, Indian food is spicier than Japanese food, or Thai cuisine is more flavorful than American cuisine. These comparative adjectives help us describe the differences between various culinary traditions.
Speaking of descriptions, let's also introduce some phrases and idioms. Breaking bread is an idiom that means sharing a meal with someone, often as a gesture of friendship. Another one is a taste of home, which refers to food that reminds you of your hometown or childhood.
I love those idioms. They really capture the essence of how food connects us to our roots and to each other. Let's ask a fun question, Sarah. If you could travel to any country just for the food, where would you go?
That's a tough one. I think I'd choose Italy. I'd love to experience authentic Italian cuisine right from the source. How about you, Philip?
I'd go to Thailand. The combination of sweet, sour, salty, and spicy flavors is something I'd love to explore more deeply. And it's not just about the food itself, but the entire dining experience that makes it so special.
Absolutely. And that's what makes discussing cultural food so exciting. It's not just about the dishes, but the stories, traditions, and experiences behind them. We hope you've enjoyed learning about these cultural differences in food as much as we have.
Definitely. There's so much to discover and appreciate when it comes to food from around the world. Thanks for joining us in this culinary journey. Next up, we'll talk about healthy eating and diets. Don't go away. Sara, why is healthy eating important to you?
Healthy eating is crucial for maintaining energy, keeping our bodies strong, and preventing illnesses. Plus, when I eat well, I just feel better overall. How about you, Philip?
I totally agree. For me, it's about finding a balance that keeps me feeling good both mentally and physically. Let's dive into some vocabulary. When we talk about nutrients, we're referring to the essential substances in food that our bodies need to function properly, like vitamins, minerals, and proteins.
Exactly. And a balanced diet means eating a variety of foods in the right proportions to get all the nutrients your body needs. This includes fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and healthy fats. Another key term is organic, which refers to food produced without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers.
Good point, Sara. Let's not forget about superfoods, which are nutrient-rich foods considered to be especially beneficial for health and well-being. Examples include blueberries, kale, and quinoa. Now, let's talk about some grammar related to giving advice. We often use modal verbs like should, must, and need to. For instance, you should eat more vegetables, or you need to drink plenty of water.
That's right. Modal verbs are really useful when discussing healthy habits. Another important aspect is understanding different types of diets. For example, a vegan diet excludes all animal products, while a vegetarian diet includes dairy and eggs but no meat. What's your take on special diets, Philip?
I think they can be great for people with specific health goals or dietary needs. For instance, a gluten-free diet is essential for people with celiac disease, and a low-carb diet can help manage weight. Let's also sprinkle in some phrases and idioms. You are what you eat means that the food you consume affects your health and well-being. And eat clean refers to eating whole, unprocessed foods.
Those are great idioms. Another one is an apple a day keeps the doctor away, which emphasizes the importance of eating healthy foods to maintain good health. Philip, what's your favorite healthy snack?
I'd say a handful of almonds. They're packed with protein and healthy fats, and they're super convenient. How about you, Sara?
I love making smoothies with fresh fruits, spinach, and a bit of yogurt. They're delicious and full of nutrients. Healthy eating doesn't have to be boring, it's all about finding what you enjoy and making it a part of your routine.
Absolutely. And remember, it's okay to indulge once in a while. It's all about balance and listening to your body. We hope you've picked up some useful tips and vocabulary on healthy eating and diets. For our final segment today, we're comparing the pros and cons of cooking at home versus eating out. Sara, do you prefer cooking at home or dining out?
I enjoy both, but I think cooking at home has its special charm. It's fun to experiment with new recipes and ingredients. Plus, it's usually healthier and more cost-effective. How about you, Philip?
I'm with you there, Sara. Cooking at home allows you to control what goes into your food, and it can be a relaxing and rewarding experience. Let's break down some vocabulary. When we say homemade, we mean food prepared at home, often with fresh ingredients and personal care.
Exactly. And convenience is a big factor for many people. Cooking at home might take more time, but it's convenient to have meals ready whenever you need them. Another term we often hear is meal prep, which means preparing meals in advance to save time during the week.
That's a great tip for busy people. And let's not forget about leftovers, which are the extra portions of food that can be eaten later. Leftovers can be a lifesaver on busy days. Now, let's touch on some grammar. Conditional sentences are useful when discussing options. For example, if you cook at home, you can save money.
That's right. Another example is, if you eat out too often, it can get expensive. Speaking of eating out, let's talk about some vocabulary. Restaurant refers to a place where meals are served to customers, and takeout is when you order food to be eaten elsewhere. What's your take on eating out, Philip?
I think eating out can be a great way to enjoy different cuisines and take a break from cooking. Terms like fine dining refer to upscale restaurants with a formal atmosphere, while fast food is quick, convenient, and usually less expensive. Let's sprinkle in some phrases and idioms. Eating out simply means dining at a restaurant, and a real treat refers to something special and enjoyable, like going out for a fancy dinner.
Those are perfect examples. Another idiom is dine and dash, which means to leave a restaurant without paying, though that's definitely something we don't recommend. Philip, what's your favorite thing about dining out?
I love trying new dishes that I might not make at home. It's also nice to relax and not worry about cooking or cleaning up. How about you, Sarah?
I enjoy the social aspect of dining out. It's a great way to catch up with friends and family. Plus, I love exploring new restaurants and different types of cuisine. However, I also appreciate the comfort and creativity of cooking at home.
Absolutely. Both cooking at home and eating out have their benefits. It's all about finding the right balance for your lifestyle and enjoying the best of both worlds. We hope you found this discussion helpful and picked up some new vocabulary and phrases along the way. And that brings us to the end of today's podcast on food and cooking. We've covered a lot of ground, from our favorite foods and cooking techniques to cultural differences and healthy eating.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation and learned something new. Food is such a universal topic, and it's a great way to connect with others and expand your vocabulary and language skills.
Absolutely. Remember, whether you're cooking at home or exploring new restaurants, there are always opportunities to practice and improve your English. We've talked about some great vocabulary, grammar points, idioms, and phrases today.
Yes, like how comfort food brings warmth and nostalgia, or how spicing things up can make life more exciting. And don't forget those handy grammar tips, like using comparative adjectives to describe different cuisines or modal verbs to give advice on healthy eating.
We'd love to hear from you. What are your favorite foods and cooking methods? Do you have any special dishes from your culture that you'd like to share? Leave a comment below and let's keep the conversation going.
And if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We have lots of exciting topics coming up that you won't want to miss.
That's right. We're here to make learning English fun and engaging, so join us next time as we dive into another interesting topic. Until then, keep experimenting in the kitchen and enjoy every meal.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Stay curious, keep learning, and happy cooking.
See you next time.
Bye for now.